Chicago, yes, sir.
American Airlines reservations, may I help you? Yes, Mr. Finchley. You wanted that on our DC-7 flagship, non-stop to Los Angeles? For what day will that be, sir? 12th? Yes, Mr. Finchley, your reservations are definitely confirmed. That'll be on the DC-7 flagship to Los Angeles, non-stop, at the Mercury.
And that's all there was to it. One girl and an electronic machine named the Reservisor put Mr. Finchley on Flight 1, the non-stop Mercury to the coast. It was quick. The Reservisor does the job in seconds. And for now, Mr. Finchley is through. The airline, of course, has just begun to work. While Mr. Finchley's card is being digested by a battery of business machines, a platoon of mechanics and cleaners are working on the DC-7, which will fly Trip 1, following the step-by-step, day-to-day inspection and maintenance routine, which keeps each flagship just a little bit newer and better and fresher than when it left the manufacturing plant. Over in the flight kitchen, the food is being prepared for Flight 1 and the other American flights out of Idlewild for the day. All over the system, American Airlines serves more than 8,700 meals a day in flight, close to 3 million a year. The plane, its inspection finished, starts for the passenger ramp. Today in New York, it's raincoat weather, one of those off-again, on-again rainy days. For Flight 1, it probably means a radar departure. And while the last-minute groundwork gets underway, upstairs in flight dispatch, the crew checks in. Among the subjects under discussion, the weather.
Hi, Bob. How you doing?
Fine. How are you, Jack?
We're good. Who's going out with us today?
Harry Clark.
He ought to be due in, shouldn't he?
Here he is.
Good.
Greetings.
Hiya, Bob. We're going out with you on 1 today.
Good deal. Have you checked the weather yet?
Yes, looks pretty good.
Let's go take a spot check on it.
Well, let's see.
Look to you.
I don't think weather's going to be much of a problem on any one of the tracks that we have today, Jack.
Pretty clear out on the west end.
Looks like track 1, what I can see here.
The latest chart. Track 1 does look like the best. You have an 800-foot ceiling here, but you pull out on top at about 14,000, and then 20,000 is well out in the clear for the remainder of the trip.
How's it look on track 6?
Track 6, not as good, but flying in the trough as you would with higher tops, I don't think it's nearly so good as track 1 is.
How about up north on track 3?
Track 3, you would be on top out in the clear at 20,000, but it would take about 10 minutes longer than track 1.
Track 1 looks pretty good. We can make a schedule on it. Jack, set her up to track 1. What's L.A. planning for an annulment, Harry?
Burbank at 4,500, right?
Okay, the Burbank weather's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Jack.
The captain, working with the advice of weather experts and flight dispatchers, has chosen track 1 for today's trip. The DC-7, because of its great range, speed, and flexibility, can fly any one of 6 courses, called tracks, non-stop across the country. With the 7, the captain can choose the course which will offer the fastest and smoothest trip, whether his route takes him over the Dakotas on the north or through Texas to the south. Inside at the ticket counter, the passengers have started to check in. This lady is probably on her way to the coast for a look at the newest grandchild. This is Finchley, one step nearer home. This could be a New York model on her way to a screen test. Miss Julia is interested in paperwork. This is a pretty girl. This man is a commuter. Here is a business deal on its way to happen.
Smoking on, seatbelt sign off.
Radio, circuit
The
breaker.
preliminaries are over. The flight crew starts through the checklist. 63 items which must be cleared before an engine turns over. And while the ramp crews deal with the plane itself, Inside, in operations, agents are computing the load, checking clearances, all aimed at moving 120,000 pounds of passengers, crew, mail, express, freight, and fuel 2,500 miles in a little more than 8 hours.
Mark advance.
Take off and climb.
Ignition.
Off.
Emergency cabin altitude control.
Normal.
Supercharger disconnect control.
Engage.
Fire warning.
All checked.
Control panel.
System 1 and 2 and off.
Torque meter line heat switch.
Off.
Torpedo heat.
Off.
Fuel quantity and distribution.
Check 5512.
Landing light.
Off and
The
retract.
sign makes it official.
Open on 1 and 2.
American Airlines, Flight 1, the Mercury. 1 p.m. flagship, leaving non-stop for Los Angeles. Now ready at gate number 2. All aboard, please.
Okay, we'll have to wait for the load sheet, that's all.
B1 and B2.
The plane is buttoned up. The stewardesses start their check of passenger names. And the ramp agent comes out to start engines. His first signal means brakes on. His second means start engine number 3.
Okay, setup number 3.
Set up on 3 and
Clear on 3. Go ahead, start 3.
2, 4, 6. Switch.
Switch.
Setting up 4.
Set up 4. Clear 4. Start 4.
Turn it. 2, 4, 6. Switch.
Switch. There she goes. Set up number 2.
On 2.
Clear on 2, start in 2. 2, 4, 6, 8. Switch.
Switch on.
Okay, there she goes, Bob. Set up number 1. 1. Clear on 1, start 1. 2, 4, 6, 8. Switch.
Switch on.
There she goes, Bob. She's all yours.
While ground control, this is American 1. There to taxi, over.
American 1, this is Idlewild ground control. Cleared to runway 13 left. Wind south variable. 10 to 15. Altimeter 3027. Proceed via taxi strip Bravo. Over.
The ceiling is still about 800 feet, which means that Trip 1 will make that radar departure after receiving its clearance from air traffic control.
American 1, ATC clearance. Over. ATC clears American 1 to Glen Cove. Radar departure. Climb on runway heading to 1,200 feet. Cross Mitchell Range at 2,500 feet. Glen Cove at 3,500 feet. Expect further clearance via Red 23, East Scranton, Red 13, Red 21, and Green 3 to Los Angeles. Report leaving 2,500 feet and reaching 3,500. Over.
Okay, American 1. Cleared to Glen Cove. It's a radar departure. We climbed to 1,200 feet on runway ahead.
Those orders may sound complicated, but they're simple directions to get from Idlewild Airport over Long Island, past Manhattan, through New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and on out to the West Coast.
To Los Angeles. Report leaving 2,500 and reaching 3,500. Over.
And now, another check, including a run-up of the engines. Check, double check, triple check. Then you're ready to fly.
American 1, cleared for takeoff on runway 13 left. Contact departure control 120.3 as soon as practical after takeoff. Over.
American 1, have you in sight. Climb straight ahead to 1200 before starting turn for Mitchell.
The 7 settles into its climb out of Idlewild. Passing 1,200 feet. Another check by radar. Past 2,000 feet. And on up through the clouds, with radar helping to keep the plane in its own traffic lane. Then, at 14,000 feet, the sun comes out. And it's time for Flight 1's first report to a company radio operator in New York.
New York, it's American 1.
American 1, New York, go ahead.
Out of Idlewild at 07, off at 14. We're now at 14,000 and climbing. We'll cruise at 20,000 count ATC. Go ahead.
American 1, New York, we have you out of Idlewild at 07, off at 14. You're at 14,000, climbing to cruise at 20,000. I'll count ATC. New York.
This report is being written on a teletypewriter, tied into a system known as the 81D1, a fabulous device which controls the communications setup. The operator punches a couple of buttons, and the message goes on to tape and is automatically sent to the right stations out along the line. Down in the switching center, more than 30,000 messages clear through the switching centers every day. More operators feed miles of tape, pounding through dozens of machines. And at the panel, one girl acts as a traffic cop. This flight is just one of the Mercuries, just one of the non-stops American flies each day across the country. But the name, Mercury, is one of the oldest in air transportation. Mercury flights have represented the finest in air transport since 1936. Back then, it was a sleeper flight with berths available. The DC-3 flew the trip. The DC-4 handled the Mercury in its time. Then the DC-6. And today, the newest and fastest of them all, the DC-7, represents the Mercury standard. The 7 has made the berth obsolete as far as transcontinental travel goes. You take off, read a little, or talk, or play cards, eat a fine meal, watch an entire nation pass beneath, and you're there.
Jack, we're in the clear on top now. You can cancel our IFR. We'll proceed VFR.
New York, this is American 1. We're over Branchville at 33, 18,000 climbing. We're estimating over Mars at 46. We'll be there at 22,000. We're canceling ATC and going to proceed VFR by track 1. Count center speed. Over.
That report was fairly simple. The first officer canceled the flight's air traffic control clearance, the ATC, because flying conditions are fine. They're VFR, which means visual flight rules can be followed rather than the exact pinpointed directions of the clearance. Even when flying VFR, though, the plane's course must be set up so that the crew checks with the ground and the ground checks with the crew at carefully timed intervals.
Passing the mic, will you, Jack? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard American Airlines.
On this flight, like any other, there are two kinds of points of interest. One for the passengers, something like the Grand Canyon, and the other for the crew, their checkpoints. Flying Track 1, the most direct route, the Mercury's crew will check in at Mars, just north of Pittsburgh, Lafayette, Indiana, Kirksville, Missouri, Concordia, Kansas, Pueblo, Colorado, Black Mesa, Arizona, Lake Mojave, Nevada, and Daggett in California. On this particular flight, with the 7 cruising at 365 miles an hour, it's possible to have a late breakfast in New York and dinner in Los Angeles, plus a good luncheon somewhere between Ohio and Kansas. 65 luncheons today, served from the world's most efficient buffet. Today's menu includes a fresh fruit salad, a shrimp cocktail, a chocolate nut sundae, and the main course, a double lamb chop, potatoes Parisienne, and Brussels sprouts Delmonico. Another special feature of the food service is the napkin, which comes with a built-in buttonhole, sometimes a young lady's best friend. The food, incidentally, does more than pass the time. Mr. Finchley isn't finicky, but he likes good food, and he really likes that lamb chop. Trip 1's next checkpoint is Lafayette, Indiana. And of course, the first job of the crew is to fly there. These days, that's made easier because of the Lafayette Omni-Range Station, one of several hundred maintained throughout the U.S. for aerial navigation. The first officer tunes his radio to the frequency of the Lafayette station, and the needle, the one lining up in the bottom of the picture, shows him exactly where it is. This is the Lafayette Omni, a slightly weird-looking device sitting out in the middle of a field. All it does all day, every day, is send out a radio impulse on its own private wavelength, telling anyone interested just exactly where it is. It just sits there, hums a little, and passes out its valuable automatic information. The nationwide system of Omni-Range stations has made aerial navigation a matter of following the white line. If it could be applied to automobile travel, it would make the road map obsolete. Time, 4:30 East Coast time, 1:30 West Coast time. One airplane, the DC-7, and 60 passengers. A big operation. And it's part of the biggest airline operation in the world. All over the system, American Airlines has close to 200 airplanes at work, east and west, from Canada to Mexico. Today is an average day. On an average day, American flies about 18,000 people from one place to another. It adds up to more than 6 million passengers a year. On a flight like this, the contrasts can get pretty deep. On one hand, we have the gin rummy players, and just outside the window, the Rockies. The lady takes a cat nap. And 50 feet away, the captain calls up Los Angeles. And all the while, one long and beautiful postcard unfolds below.
Well, Grand Canyon's coming up, Jack. Guess we better tell them about it. Will you hold it, please? Ladies and gentlemen, on your right, just coming into view, is the Grand Canyon. It's composed of the Little Colorado and the Colorado rivers. On your left will be the Little Colorado, and on the right, Marble Canyon. Off to the right and ahead is Lake Mead. We'll call you as we pass there. You'll get a good look at the Grand Canyon on your right-hand side. Thank you.
The scenery is there. It will probably stay there. But up where the 7 flies, every day in the week, there's another kind of a show. The clouds. They have their own mountains, and valleys, and castles, and towers. If you don't like one, just wait a minute, there'll be a new group just ahead.
Los Angeles, this is American 1 over Daggett at 30, 18,000. Descending VFR. We're estimating Los Angeles at 50. Go ahead.
American 1, we have you over Daggett at 18,000. Descending VFR, estimate Los Angeles 50. Changing over the Los Angeles altimeter 2992, station pressure 115 above. Change to the Los Angeles tower 119.9.
And now the pace starts building again. Trip 1 is over the Mojave Desert, about 90 miles out of Los Angeles. But already the Los Angeles tower is getting ready for its arrival.
Over. Approach control, this is American 1. Over Summit, 40 at 15,000. Estimating the field at 49. Go ahead. American 1 will report La Habra.
Okay, Bob, you and Jack want to go through the pre-landing check?
Okay.
Hey, seatbelt no smoking sign.
Both on.
Auto feathering. Off. VTOL wing heaters.
Both off.
Spark advance.
Take off and climb.
Fuel quantity.
1,200 gallons distribution is all right.
Once again, the check and the double check. This time for the landing. All over the system, American Airlines planes make close to 1,000 takeoffs and the same number of landings every day. Every one of them, short haul or long, gets the same treatment.
Mixtures.
Rich and locked.
Carburetor heat.
Cold and locked.
Hydraulic system.
Pressure and fluid.
Props, flaps, gear, throttle, reverse lock, and the autopilot to go.
Okay.
Check V2 on it, will you?
Okay. V2 will be about 108.
Give me the speed brakes, Jack.
Speed brake. Down.
Here's another special feature of the DC-7. The speed brakes are the two main landing gear, specially stressed so they can be put out at fairly high speed. With the gear out, the plane's resistance to the air is almost doubled. Quicker, easier descents can be made. The 7 can stay on top longer.
We're coming up in La Habra. 6,000.
Los Angeles Tower, this is American Flight 1. Approaching La Habra, we're at 6,000.
La Habra is close in. Flight 1 is ready to land.
Down gear.
Gear down. 3 green light.
Degree flaps.
Coming to 30. You have them.
Call out my airspeed below 500.
All right. 145. 140.
Full flaps.
Full flaps you have. 135. 125, 120, 115, 110.
The captain reverses the propellers. The reversed propellers act as air brakes. The Mercury is in.
much I owe you?
Exactly $232. Okay.
Hi. How was the trip?
Oh, routine. Where's the car?
Parking lot.
Good.
Hello, Dan. How was it?
Oh, beautiful trip.
How the kids?
Mr. Finchley summed it up. It was a beautiful flight. Of course, it was planned that way. Thousands of people planned the trip. Hundreds worked to make it a success. One plane, the DC-7, made it possible. American has invested more than $50 million in 25 DC-7s for the non-stops and for the key flights which serve other routes. It's a lot of airplane. It's a big reason why. For comfort, service, speed, and dependability, American remains America's leading airline.
Look up to the new symbol of commercial aviation. For from Douglas, the most respected name in aviation, comes the newest transport in the pure jet field, the DC-8 jetliner. Who am I? That can wait till later. My only purpose for the present is to relate to you some of the things I have seen, things I've known were going to happen. A great forward step into aviation's tomorrow has been made. It was inevitable. I want to tell you about the newest son of a distinguished family, renowned for unequaled progress in the history of aviation. I should know. I'm an old friend of the family's. You know the family best by its initials, DC, Douglas Commercial. The family trademark, DC, made its first indelible impression in the remarkable history of flight with an all-metal, low-wing monoplane, the DC-1. Through the years, the Douglas family grew impressively large. DC-2, DC-3, DC-4, DC-5, DC-6, and the DC-7. With this incomparable history, no wonder more people and more airlines fly Douglas-built aircraft. Nor am I overlooking Douglas's contribution to the military in jet flight, such as the research aircraft X-3. The Navy's mighty midget, the A.F.A. The Air Force's versatile B-66 series. The incomparable F-4D Skyray, holder of 7 world speed records. And there are many more. The jet age actually dawned right after World War II, and the Douglas Aircraft Company, already deeply engrossed in building aircraft for the defense of free nations, began concentrating on jet power for the commercial field. With the advent of the Pratt & Whitney JT3 engine, Douglas engineers began pouring their vast experience into the development of a new transport design. As part of its development program, Douglas built this large manufacturing facility at Long Beach, California, the only factory designed exclusively for commercial jet construction. Inside the massive interior of the new plant, production line activity began to reflect the results of one of the most comprehensive, exhaustive research and development programs in the annals of aviation. Bringing into reality a new aircraft, embodying the latest ideas and discoveries in aerodynamics, in comfort, in safety, and in maintenance. Douglas aerodynamicists created the best subsonic wing yet developed for transport aircraft. Having a 30-degree sweepback, the DC-8 wing spans 139 feet 9 inches. Of 3-spar construction, it passes through the fuselage to become an integral part of the DC-8. To ensure maximum fatigue resistance and the optimum in structural integrity and safe design, underwater pressure tests subjected the aircraft to pressure, landing, and gust loads equivalent to 130,000 flights. In preparation for this birth of a jet, systems testing went far beyond that for any previous aircraft. Wind tunnel tests were conducted for a period of more than 5 years. There was thorough testing of the electrical generating system, the pneumatic air conditioning, de-icing, and cabin supercharging system, the hydraulic power supply system, the complete engine pod with all systems and accessories, separate tests of individual components, structural proof tests of the wing, fuselage, and tail surfaces. In short, every component of the DC-8 was thoroughly tested and developed to give jet flight a proven, dependable aircraft. Then, on April 19, 1958, the world of aviation first welcomed its newest arrival. 6 years in the making. 6 years of research and development. The Douglas DC-8 was now a reality. The sleek, graceful newcomer appeared capable of carrying on the proud Douglas name. Some of its DC predecessors were there, and these veterans of flight, these aircraft of experience and of incomparable reputation, seemed to be giving this new member of the DC family a thorough appraisal. Douglas subjected its new aircraft to ground and flight test programs unprecedented in scale and thoroughness. For over a month, the big jetliner graced the runways at Long Beach in a variety of taxi runs and other test activities. Although twice the size of the famed DC-7, this new aircraft of the jet age can be accommodated by any modern terminal, primarily because of a Douglas-developed wheel arrangement on the main landing gear in which the aft wheels swivel. This giant transport, weighing 300,000 pounds, 150 feet 6 inches in length, can turn through 180 degrees in a radius of less than 90 feet. Load distribution on the wheels is such that special reinforcement of the runway is not required. Yes, the ground tests proved that the DC-8 is quite a plane. The big moment, the moment of truth, had arrived. It was time to try out the wings, to learn the jetliner's characteristics and capabilities in flight. On May 30th, 1958, with an audience of thousands, the DC-8 jetliner began its first takeoff run. As it picked up speed, aviation experts and sympathetic spectators alike knew that all the skill, the experience, and the reputation of the Douglas Aircraft Company was at the showdown stage. The liftoff was graceful, requiring less than a third of the runway. The DC-8 jetliner was airborne. For commercial aviation, it marked the start of a new era in passenger flight. For more than 2 hours, the jetliner cruised the skies, and many a Southern Californian looked up to marvel at this new bird and listened to the new sound in the sky. The landing was smooth. This is Edwards Air Force Base, home for the jetliner as it undergoes a rugged, complete checkout both on the ground and in flight. So determined is Douglas to give commercial aviation a new concept in speed, comfort, economy, and dependability, a jet transport worthy of the name of Douglas, that 9 DC-8s will participate in the test program. While the test phase is in progress, DC-8s coming off the production line will be available for crew training, enabling the world's airlines to establish route operations at the earliest possible date. Douglas has an unmatched record of giving the air traveler the utmost in comfort. In the DC-8 jetliner, all the company's knowledge and experience and the very latest in interior fabrics have been utilized to make the cabin a showcase. The interior decor depends upon the wishes of the airline operator. So too, the seating arrangement. The first-class cabin contains from 118 to 122 seats. Tourist cabins contain up to 144 seats. The cabin volume of the DC-8 is that of a 3-bedroom and den house, roughly 13,000 cubic feet. Air scoops located beneath the nose of the plane supply air for the cooling system. By being positioned beneath the nose, the possibility of engine fumes entering the cabin is eliminated. The air is fed to 4 turbo compressors, supplying fresh air to all occupied areas. The plane's air conditioning system is of such magnitude that 9 normal homes could be cooled by it simultaneously. 3 years of research and development by Douglas acoustical engineers resulted in a device that muffles noise to satisfactory levels. While inside the plane, passengers will marvel at the absolute quiet as they speed to their destinations. Yes, new standards of quiet and comfort are now available to air travelers. And speed, non-stop transoceanic and transcontinental flights in all parts of the world can be made in less than half the time required for piston-powered or turboprop types of engines. Sky view windows, passengers will experience the thrill of looking at the world from as high as 40,000 feet. At that altitude, the cabin is pressurized to a 6,700-foot altitude. Here is unsurpassed passenger comfort, and for the world's airlines, the maximum in operating economy. Oh, yes. Who am I? The name is dependability. Douglas and I have worked together for decades. In the DC-8, you see the result of Douglas manufacturing skill combined with the experience gained through billions of successful transport air miles. With the utmost confidence in the future of commercial aviation, Douglas, in one of the biggest private financial ventures ever recorded, has opened new horizons for jet-powered flight. To the Douglas Aircraft Company, this is its proudest achievement in 38 years of designing and manufacturing aircraft. This birth of a jet, this DC-8 jetliner.